turned his arm over and bowled the spell of his life, of his T20 career. And the most important thing for us, I think he took 5 wickets for 3 runs or something like that, which was incredible.
It could have probably been a 6 for, I'm not sure, but I'm just leaving it out there. But Sangha, tell me something else slightly different to this T20 World Cup triumph that you had. How much did it mean to Sri Lanka as a nation itself? Because I'm sure you grew up watching the Aravinda De Silvas, the Ranatungas, and you yourself and Mahela, both of you were carrying the baton, so to say. You were like a very charismatic presence in the world cricket and for Sri Lankan cricket, representing Sri Lanka out there. But you were so close, like you said, 2007, 2011, 2009 and 2012 in Sri Lanka at home. What was it telling in your head? Was it like kind of putting a little bit of pressure, saying, we are so close, but we're not able to replicate what Arjuna did? Was it going through the head at all?
Yeah, absolutely. In Sri Lanka, you're never allowed to forget the 1996 World Cup. And one way of kind of getting that monkey off your back is, of course, the only way is to win one. Hopefully we wanted to win a 50-over World Cup and we couldn't, but at least a T20 World Cup. So that was also motivation in terms of wanting to kind of say that, hey, hold on, we could also win a World Cup. But at the same time, also to understand that World Cup in 96, Ravi, changed not just my life, but the lives of so many, young cricketers who suddenly thought, okay, this is something that we wanted to do or could do, and we could beat the best in the world. So why not have that again and give a new inspiration to the younger generation that, yes, those dreams are still alive. We are still world beaters, not just in bilateral series or other benchmark tournaments, but in World Cups. So it meant a hell of a lot to us. And a lot of people don't know that, but during the World Cup, just before we left, we had issues with the cricket board and we were not signing our contracts. And so the flight, I think, was about to leave around 11 at night. And we were still not finalized as a squad when we were asked to come to the cricket board at 6. And what we said was, listen, it's a World Cup. We will play for free. We don't want any match fees. We don't want any money from the board, but we're ready to play, but we're not going to sign contracts. And I remember going to the cricket board and telling our vehicles to wait. We might be sent back and we might not be allowed to go. They might send another team. But then we had a couple of hours of chats inside. And they said, okay, fine, go, and we'll handle whatever we have to when we come back. So we went, and if I remember right, I think we even after we won, we came back. We still, on principle, refused match fees or anything like that, because that's what yes, players wanted to do. So that also was added motivation to, really kind of not throw that opportunity away, because we wanted to come back as winners. We didn't want to come back with our tail between our legs. So that also provided a lot of motivation. And we knew that the people out there in Sri Lanka, when we won and came back, we had people lining the streets from the airport all the way up to near the Taj Samudram golf face. That was how much it meant for the country and for us.
Wow, wonderful. That's a lovely story to listen to, Sangha. And I must say, whenever I watch you on the field, or even Mahela for that matter on the field, there is massive amount of respect that I gain, because it's like you guys are torchbearers of a nation that sort of set the Asian benchmark in the late 90s when Arjuna and Aravinda and all of them won the World Cup. It was like, this joyous part of the world coming out and showing the exuberance and showing the world how it is to play cricket with a smile on the face. Until then, a lot of people see the game with a lot of pressure, especially in India. It's too much pressure. But how did you manage to translate that? Because the era where Arjuna and Aravinda won the World Cup wasn't anywhere close to what it is today. But how do you mix and match in the late 2000s to be able to derive the result that yourself and Mahela duly got? Was it any different? Did it help that you had someone like Murali in the dressing room as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we had a lot of players who played in that 90s era. Until about 1995, the Sri Lankan team were recognized as, like the good old Calypso cricketers. They were lovely guys, great bunch of players, played with grace, beautiful to watch, but unfortunately lost more than they won. 95 really changed that under Arjuna, because when Murali was called for throwing in Australia, and when Sri Lanka took that stand, under Arjuna, the team kind of unified, because up until that time, even for the public, they were so crazy and passionate about cricket, but they never battle cry, other than just the cricket, right? They didn't have anything else beyond the game that really brought them and felt them personally attached to the cricketers. But suddenly, when Murali was called, Murali suddenly became, hey, hold on, no one's touching our star. No one is touching our brother, So we are going to gather around him, and this is going to be us. Not just the team, but the whole country suddenly kind of embraced that one situation, that one player. And the entire focus was, hold on, we were treated unfairly, Murali was treated unfairly, and this is the catalyst that really set the tone and set the road and the path towards winning a World Cup. So beyond 1999, when Sri Lanka as defending champs were knocked out of the first round in England in the World Cup, there was a huge cry for change. So Sana Jayasuriya takes over the captaincy. Marwan Atapattu, Mahela Javadan, already a senior player. When I joined the team, Mahela had already played 2.5 years of international cricket. Right. We had Murali and Vasi, who were stars in their own right. Aravinda and Hashan Tilakaratna, who had been in the wilderness after 1999, but came back when I started. So we had a really great mixture of people who kind of brought all the old knowledge and that experience from that journey from 95 to 99. And then we had these new breed of players who suddenly saw that and were inspired. So one of the biggest things that changed in our dressing room was the hierarchical system, because in the old days, you would also notice, it's very like you have the seniors, you have the juniors. Juniors are not expected to talk much or contribute much. They're expected to listen, do what they were told. So that's how we grew up. And unfortunately, that's not a healthy thing in a dressing room for long periods of time. Sometimes, maybe from 93 to 97, that may have been what worked for Sri Lanka, where we had Arjun Ranatunga, the strong captain, and a strong bunch of seniors. The most experienced, something that a lot of people don't realize. I think in 1996, Sri Lanka would have been the most experienced one-day side in the world in terms of one-day matches played. Right. But you saw the cracks beginning to appear when suddenly Aravinda became a star, Sana Jayasuriya was a star, Vasi was a star, Murali was a star, and that kind of central, strong, ironclad control was not really working for the team. And you saw what happened in 99. So in 2000, under Sanath, it slowly started changing, and we were going and looking for strong individuals who were not only talented, but had strong ideas and opinions to contribute. And we welcome different opinions. Youngest players standing up and saying, giving of their thoughts, and the dressing room not going, oh, shut up, you're a youngster, what the hell do you know? But the dressing room going, yeah, he's got a point. Maybe he sees things slightly differently, so maybe let's take that on board. So we also had cricketers like X-Factor cricketers suddenly coming through, Lasith Malinga, Ajanta Mendis, so on and so forth. Guys who didn't look like a typical cricketer. But we were, as a team, willing to take a risk on getting them quickly into a side so that they provided us with that kind of the unpredictable, the unknown that we could surprise opposition with. And the gel holding all of that together was definitely Muttai Muralidharan, because he's an exceptional human being, annoying as hell in the dressing room because he bloody talks all the time and he's always critical and always saying things that annoy you. We had a rule that if you're going to bat next, you never sat next to Murali, because he will come and tell you how good the opposition is and how bad you are. But the guy has an absolute heart of gold. He's such a humble man. He has no ego. So for a man who was revered in Sri Lanka, he always spent his time with the youngsters in the team. He would be in the back of the bus, playing jokes with them, talking to them as an equal. And that really helped build the confidence up of the youngsters, much more than what Mahela or I ever did. Because you had this one guy who would go to a hotel, call up the youngsters and say, listen, I'm going for dinner. What do you guys want for dinner? I'll bring it back. Then he'll go out, bring all the dinner back to his room and call everyone and say, okay, dinner's here, come and eat with me. and he'd help the youngsters, he'd answer questions with them, and he was just like one of the guys. So that really helped to break barriers down, break the ice, and really get the youngsters involved in our team culture. And we had certain standards we set down. We were very competitive, not just with other teams, Ravi, but also in between us. So if one guy got 100, it was like a matter of honor that everyone tried to follow that. Get one, get two, get a double, get to 10,000 runs. So we were kind of chasing milestones alongside each other. And that kind of healthy competitive nature really helped us. And our dressing room, Ravi, if you ever came into a dressing room, there was never a talk of contracts in terms of who got more money or who got more corporate endorsements. There's nothing like that. I mean, we had rules like if we had man of the match and man of the series awards that were usually shared out among the team, we had a specific bank account that we used to maintain under the manager's name, and all that money would go there, and it was to help out people who needed urgent operations or medical treatments for themselves or for their children. So we had various things that we brought in to try and make the team feel as if they had a duty socially to the fans as well, to people beyond and outside the team. And that connection for us with our fans, with the people who watched us, really helped. So we had all these really kind of healthy mechanisms in the side to keep ourselves grounded, to understand that cricket was just a game, and this helped us to do more things in life and to help other people with their lives. So that kind of kept our focus kind of balanced, Ravi. We knew that we had to work as hard to play cricket, but at the same time, the benefits that we gained from it was to be shared.
That's interesting. You said that you looked at there is a tendency, especially in a country like India where we play the game, that we tend to see when I say we, I'll have to include myself in the community and many more. Sometimes we are larger than the game itself, or larger than people out there. But suddenly, when you put in times like we are in right now, you get a perspective of how the world outside is much more balanced, and there are so many struggles out there. Is it because that the country as a whole has gone through so many adversities? Because I saw one of your lectures when you delivered it about how much the war impacted your life in Sri Lanka, right? Is it because of those hardships that you feel, hey, you know what, we need to live for today, and we need to be able to help as many people as possible? Is that something that's ingrained into everybody in the system? Because even when you spoke about Murli, that's something that sticks in my head, I was a no one, and he used to sit right next to me and talk about everything possible. Yes, he used to blurt out some of his, anxieties of the game, but a thorough gentleman, a class human being. So is it because of the way you guys are brought up or the hardships that you go through?
I think it's a combination, Ravi. It's a case of... it's a strange thing. For us, cricket has always been something that we love. It's a passion, but it's still a game. And to all of us, we understand that life and cricket sometimes intertwine, but it's still just a game. And life goes on beyond and after cricket. It's the same thing. We had the tsunami, we had a war, we had so many other, we have floods, we have various things that come and go in our lives. But for us, the important thing is that we remain focused, we control what we can control, we enjoy life, we enjoy our moments, and we enjoy playing on that cricket field, because the journey is the final vindication of it. Yes, you win and you'll achieve certain things along the way, but for a lot of the guys who leave this game in Sri Lanka, the best thing is that you don't leave with any bitterness, right? You might not have achieved everything you wanted to achieve. You might not have, wanted to retire or be dropped or be injured. But sometimes, if you focus on those, you miss the forest for the trees, right? So it's something that I think as Sri Lankans we have certain sayings, that are really funny. It's lost in translation. But you say, even if the ship is sinking, you need to live in the moment. You need to enjoy that moment.
No, it's clear.
Yeah.
I'm not missing it in translation. I love how you said you're missing the forest for the trees.
Yeah. And when we were in Pakistan and we were attacked in 2009 and we came back to Sri Lanka, Ravi, there was a Swami from the Art of Living Center who came down to help us with our breathing and our focus and our kind of mental stress. And I still remember one of the questions he asked us was, when are you going to be happy? And he said, we are always trained to think that we'll be happy when we achieve something. You World Cup, you win a match, you score 100, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, you get a promotion, a raise, so on and so forth. But it's always a moving target. The goalposts are always, you move it yourself without knowing. And he said, just be happy now. That's it. That's the simplest thing. Just be happy now, in this moment now, not when something happens or not when you achieve, now. You're listening to a song, be happy. Watching TV, be happy. Playing cricket, be happy. Enjoy the moment, be in it. So that really stuck with me when he said that, because that kind of was the way that Sri Lankans always have looked at life.
Wow, that's. I mean, staying in the present is easier said than done. I totally get it.
Right, and you're out of it, but it's
Yeah, but Sangha, another very interesting thing that I came across when I was looking up on you was about the law college that you enrolled yourself into. How difficult was it to manage law and cricket and eventually, be told that you need to choose one between the two? How was it? How was that decision?
It was very difficult because I came to Colombo. We have, when I entered university, there was only one law faculty for the whole island, and there were 200 intakes from the whole island for 1 year. So I was very happy that I managed to get in. And my father is an attorney at law, and I was the only child of his. I have 3 other siblings who was crazy enough to say yes when he suggested law. Even other 3 just said no way. So I came to Colombo to study law, not to play cricket, because I was at school level. I was what you would call a good, but nothing exceptional. Whereas if you take Mahela, Tilan Samaravira, and a few other players, when they were 16, you knew that they played for Sri Lanka because they were amazing even at that age. But when I came to Colombo, because of our civil troubles, we had an insurrection by a party called the JVP. Started in the 70s and continued later on when I was a teenager in the 80s. Universities were closed for years, so they had a backlog of students. So I had to wait 2 years to start my university degree. So I used those 2 years to play cricket because I had nothing else to do. I found a job that paid me 4,000 rupees a month, and I played cricket for that. It was a company called Informatics. And then I joined a bank, played some cricket, and suddenly, for my lucky stars, and unfortunately for Sri Lanka, the national team lost in the first round of the World Cup. And selectors, as you know, in our part of the world, they just went, okay, that's it. These guys are too old. We need to get rid of all of them, and we need young blood. And you must have heard this call from the selectors time and time again. Pakistan, Sri Lanka, India, it's now very different at certain times. So I got lucky because it was right at the moment that I had a really good under-23 season. And suddenly I was in the A side. And suddenly by the time I started my first year at university, I was in the A side and then the national side. So we had a rule that said you had to attend 60% of the lectures. And I remember, and probably made the mistake of saying, I won't be able to come for 60% of the lectures because I probably could have got someone else to sign my register for me, saying that because then I could have sat my exams. But then I remember I was told, no, this is an academic institution. You're not here to play cricket. And I kind of said, well, actually, I'm playing for the country. And they said, well, it doesn't matter what you're doing or who you're playing for. You have to either study or you play cricket. You can't do both. And if you don't come for 60%, you can't sit your exam. So it was a tough choice, spending that long studying to get into uni, spending your 2.5 years there, and then with just a couple of year and a half or a couple of years to go, you have to just decide, okay, what do you do now? And I think I made definitely the right choice. I did what I had to do at that moment. Law or studies you can come back to, but cricket, no chance.
Making a choice, but I want to ask, do you think it's right for a professional degree expecting you not to play for the country and it doesn't matter? Do you think they should have allowed you to sit the law exams? What do you think now in hindsight?
Well, I think the most important thing is to have balanced individuals who are not weighted just in extremes in one way or the other. And offering the opportunity to further your education while pursuing your passion in terms of an international career is something that most universities in the world really cherish and value and create opportunity for. If you take the US, my sister, who was national tennis champion at 15, went on a full scholarship to Brown in Providence, and she played number one singles for her university, and she ended up, with a double degree. But in Sri Lanka, we were slightly more attuned to, okay, we have a backlog of students. We really need to churn them through here. So I don't really blame the authorities at the time, but I think the thinking has to change. Universities produce not just academics, but they produce individuals of worth and value who can be successful in a wide variety of areas. And sport in universities, like it is in school, is a huge part of developing certain supplementary skills that just academic work cannot do. So I hope the thinking's changed. I was invited to the inter-university games in Sri Lanka last year. And I went and I saw the passion with which all the universities from all around Sri Lanka participated with, and in so many different sports. So I was really happy that the thinking has changed and that more and more opportunities are created for sportsmen and women to pursue both an academic career and a sporting one.
As you're speaking, you're not alone there, Sangha, because I was doing my engineering, and there was not one day in my life where I went to my college that I didn't hear that statement saying this is a professional degree, and you know what, you have to choose between these two. I don't care what you do, but congratulations for whatever you've done there. But you'll have to give your the attendance, and that's just the way it is. And in fact, many a times I've turned around and said maybe he's right. There are other people who turn up and go to college every day, and I cannot give the the required hours for it.
Yeah.
But moving on slightly from there, is it your 2 years into law that made you do what you did to Sean Pollock with so much grace and elegance and elan?
I don't think I'm ever going to be allowed to forget that. There's a history to it. In 2002, when we toured South Africa, we played 2 test matches, and the Australians had just come and gone, and they had really, really beaten them soundly. And there was, I think, a bit of kind of an acrimonious verbal showdown as well on the field. So we had a lot of South Africans who were scarred by that. And the players thought, okay, Sri Lanka, easy target. Let's go really hard at them and replicate what the Aussies tried to do to us. So we played a practice game, and we were really, really surprised by a team that we usually got on well with, that they were really in our faces. And so we went through the practice game. We played the first test, and it was getting really ugly. And I remember having a team meeting, and Marvin Athapat, who usually doesn't say much, was the first guy who said, no, we're going to go back 10 times as hard as these guys are coming at us. And we're going to do it this game. It's going to be a conscious thing, and we're going to do it. So we had Russell Arnold, that short leg, given a job of make sure that you annoy the hell out of Herschel Gibbs.
I'm sure he did a great job.
Yeah, he did. And then we were in the slips, and suddenly we saw for the first time that South Africa really reacted negatively to that. They were batting, but they were really talking to us. Even Jacques Kallis would play a stroke and turn back and have a chat to the slips. Herschel Gibbs was put under a lot of pressure. And even though we narrowly lost that game, we suddenly thought, okay, maybe this is an aspect that we could bring into our cricket when we play South Africa. And we never forgot that lesson. And until about 2006, when we played South Africa, wherever we played them, we brought out that kind of uglier side. And it was not pleasant, but it seemed to give us a huge edge over South Africa. And I think after 2006, when Smithy, when Biff was captaining, he came in and we had a good chat, and we kind of drew a line in the sand. And ever since that time, we played hard, but we got on much, much better with them. Yeah. But that was it was something I've seen so many times, and it was. It was something that really worked in that game, because that was a game that we tied. and miscalculated the Duckworth-Lewis by 1 run and were knocked out of the tournament.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is in the past, Ravi. I've mellowed since.
Yeah. As long as you're gonna be on screen doing commentary or whatever you do, a masterclass, people are going to continue asking you that question. You're never going to run away from that. Because you know what? I felt it was hilarious. At the same time, it was well within the line. There was nothing untoward said there. So that was the beauty of it. There was so much, grace about it. There was loud voice, but the message was clearly conveyed. So that's something I really enjoyed about it. And Sangha, just moving ahead a little bit more. You mentioned a lot of times that Murali could have gone on to play more cricket than he actually did. Why do you say that? Because he has 800 test wickets. I think when he retired, he must have been 38, 39, 40?
Yeah, about that, I think. 39 he must be. Just, I'll tell you the measure of the man, Ravi. He was 8 wickets away from 800. And 800 test wickets, as we all know, is an incredible amount. So he said he wanted to retire in the India series, and I was a captain. So I sat with the selectors and said, listen, he wants to play and retire after the first test. It's not going to happen. We've got to get him to get those 8 wickets and retire. So we called Murali into a meeting and said, Murali, I know you like taking challenges, but just think of it this way. It's tragic if you come so close and you don't get your 800. So you can play the first test, and if you're too tired and you have a niggle, take the second test off and you come back for the third test. Or you can take 2 tests off and come back for the next series, finish your 800. And Murali looked at us and said, you know what? No, that's not going to work for you or for me. I've always loved challengers, and if I am supposed to be the best spinner, I should be able to take 8 wickets at goal against any side. And if I take 8 wickets, I'm not just going to get my 800, we're going to win this test match as well. If I can't get it, I can't get it. So that's it. So this is my last test. Thank you very much. I'm going to take 8 wickets. And I was seated there and I was thinking, that's the kind of champion the guy was, right? And he missed a lot of games through injury because he bowled a lot of overs, Ravi. We didn't have, other than Vasi, the pace support to really get wickets. So Murali had to bowl to the openers, bowl to the middle order, bowl to the tail. So he bowled a lot of overs, and that really stressed him out and put a lot of pressure on his lower and upper body, his shoulder. So there were lots of times, and of course, no DRS, right? And a lot of the umpires for a long time didn't give LBW when he bowled around the wicket or bowled the 2 straightening over the wicket to a lefty. And I just look back and I think, forget just the years, but in between the amount of games he missed, the amount of overs he had to bowl, so he was always not the freshest or at his best during the latter half of a test match or a spell. And the inability of certain umpires to judge the variations, that really hurt his wicket tally as well. And I mean, you can't complain when you have 800, but
imagine how much you would have them.
That's true. That's very true.
No, but he will keep reminding. He makes these calls to me now and then saying, hey, how are you doing? Is it fine? Just look after the injury will reoccur. It's happened to me. But if you can get past this, you can keep going, That's sort of I mean, he's just an amazing human being, Sangha. And that's just, saying he's an amazing human being is undervaluing his good humanness, to be honest.
There's another funny thing that happened. One day, him and Tom Moody were having an argument when Moods was coaching us. And Tom got really, really angry with Murali. And at one stage, just looked at him and said, who the hell do you think you are? And Murali went, I'm the best spinner to have played the game. Just looked at him and Mood just went, yeah, okay, you're right. No, come back there. And he just walked away and Murali was laughing his head off. You're right. He's a great man.
Right, Sangha, but before I get to my final question, which I have saved up and wrapped up, tell me what is it like having a relationship with Mahela? It doesn't happen that very often the 2 stalwarts of the game, not just in Sri Lankan cricket but around the world. If Mahela and Sangha played, it felt like the bowling teams were on the knees a lot of times when the partnership took along. And both of you captained your share for Sri Lanka. In fact, in large numbers, both of you. How did you get along? It is not a very easy relationship to have, isn't it? Or is it does it come easily to Sri Lankans?
No, definitely not. I mean, we were extremely competitive. I mean, our warm-up games, if you were on opposing sides, we used to kill each other. And we would have really strong arguments and debates before we could ever agree on anything. But that really worked for us because we would have different viewpoints and perspectives of something. We'll have a real argument. But when we made a decision, each one backed the other's decision 100%. There was never a case of, I saw it differently or he saw it differently, after we made the decision. It was always before we try and thrash everything out and then settle on one thing that was the right decision most of the time. And also we were quite easygoing, again, like I said, we got on really well on the field and off the field, we had similar tastes in various things that we did in food, not in music for sure, but in little things that really, and we were also the same age. So when I came into the side, Mahela was vice captain, so he was this very senior figure. But he was surrounded by guys who were 5, 6, 7, 8 years older than him. So he needed people of his own age around him. So it was me, Tilan Samaravira, and a few others that kind of, we went out, they had meals together, all of that. So that really, cemented the initial part. And then, of course, that we were like-minded in our passion, not just for the game, but also for Sri Lankan cricket and trying to get things right in the side. That really helped us, and then that's continued beyond the field. And we do most things together now in terms of business.
Yeah, I mean, that's surprising. You said that you're very fiercely competitive. So to say that both of you are on the same page when it comes to food, you have your own restaurant together. So yeah, it's quite a surprise that happens. It doesn't happen in many parts of the world, Sangha. So both of you must take credit for that.
Mahal is a very good footballer. So he loves his football, supports the side that is always the easiest side to support in the world, Manchester United. And we used to play warm-up football, and I used to say, okay, I'll be the ref, because I was a terrible football player. So I would intentionally call a couple of fouls on him because he would then lose it. He would get so angry and say, that's not fair, that's not a foul. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I saw that as a foul, blew the whistle, sorry. And I could just try and rile him up to get him as angry and worked up as possible. But that was the kind of, we had a very easy relationship. We would have an argument, whatever, but each one saw the logic and the good intentions on the other side.
The power of the relationship came out when we actually played against Sri Lanka. It used to look like, Mahela and Sangha have planned this together. That's the sort of a feeling everybody got. None of us could actually see both of you as two separate entities because that's how it looked on the field. Many a times it looked different when other people are going about it, but it was never like that when Sangha and Mahela were playing for the team. So that's sharp credit to both of you. And Sangha, before I wrap this up, I know I've just gone beyond what I promised you to because of the lovely insights that you're giving us.
Pleasure.
The one question, I'm sure this is not going to put you in a very uncomfortable state. Tell me what happened at the toss in the 2011 World Cup. I saw two tosses. I was standing in the dressing room.
Yeah.
I went inside and I didn't have an answer to the coach. So what was it? What happened?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a case of, I think it was the crowd. The crowd was huge. It never happens in Sri Lanka. It's only happened in India to me. Once at the Eden Gardens when I couldn't hear myself talk to the first slip. And then, of course, at the Wankhede. So I remember calling on the toss. And then Mahi wasn't sure what I had called. He said, did you call tails? I said, no, I called heads. And then the match referee actually said, I won the toss. And Mahi actually said, no, he didn't because... and so there was a little bit of confusion there. And then Mahi said, okay, let's have another, toss of the coin. And that's when the second one went up and it came down heads again. So luckily, I'm not sure whether it was luckily that I won because probably if I had lost, it may have been that India might have batted, right? So
I think India might have chased. I think
really, maybe
because of the dew, maybe because of the dew.
Yeah, because of the dew, and because we played New Zealand earlier at the Wankhede, and our spinners really went through, and we defended a total. So we weren't really sure. And then there was, of course, the spray that was spraying on the ground, and the fact that we had to, with Angelo's injury, we played a 6-5 combination, was all these factors working in. But for 100%, if Angelo had been fit, I know for sure that we would have chased. I'm not sure whether the result would have changed, but definitely would have been.
You would have chased. You would have chosen to chase the score. You mean? Right?
Absolutely, because that balance of Matthews at 7 is what really, if you take our entire campaign, whatever we did, Matthews's overs and his ability to bat with the tail and read situations was an incredible bonus to us. He was a young chap who came into the side, and from day one could read situations. It's just instinct. He could understand how to up the rate, how to control a bowler, when to take advantage and accelerate. I mean, if you watch the 2010 chase against Australia with Lasith Malinga, when we were 8 down for 109, chasing 238, and he won us the game with Malinga. It was incredible against Mitchell, everyone. So in that World Cup final, I think that's the biggest thing that I look back and think. You can talk about drop catchers, all of these things, that happens. But I think that composition of the side and the fact that we were forced to make the change was to me the turning point in our strategy that we had to change quickly.
Right. Thank you so much, Sangha. You've been, as always, as charismatic as you can be, and you put your thoughts out beautifully. But just before we leave, how is the virus impact in Sri Lanka? Because we do hear from the Sri Lankan board very often that they would like to host India over there or whatever it is.
Everyone wants to host India, Ravi. That's the tour everyone wants, not just Sri Lanka. But we would love for India to come tour because it's the best tour, not just in terms of quality of cricket, but also in the amount of TV rights. So that's a huge financial boost to the side. But talking about COVID, it's been a tough time in money to buy it. So a lot of them suffered, but it was great to see the Sri Lankans pulling together. They went out, neighbors would feed each other, whatever grew in your garden was shared, whatever rations you had were shared, and people had programs to donate rations. So it was a great community effort by everyone.
Right. It's great to have listened to you on COVID and many other aspects of cricket from Sri Lanka. And I really wish and keep my fingers crossed that Sri Lankan cricket is back to where Arjuna left it, and so did Sangha, and it will be back to its glory. I know that's a topic you don't like to talk about, so I have stayed away from it. And thank you so much for joining me today on Reminisce with Ash, and hope to catch up with you soon, Sangha.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure. Sorry for the delay.
That's all right. I totally enjoyed schooling you on one thing.
Thanks very much, Ravi.
Good night.
Take care. Bye.